All right, so we are back for another episode of the Spodcast, the SHP podcast with Jeffrey Sackenheim, Vice President of Architecture for SHP. And we're talking about trends for the new year and looking ahead at what workplaces should really be thinking about in terms of their design. We know that the labor market is pretty tight right now. The great resignation is on everyone's mind. So it's pretty fair to say that recruitment and retention is going to be a chief concern for really any business headed into the new year. Jeffrey, can you talk a little bit about how a company's physical space can serve as an employee retention tool or an important part of that employee experience?
Yeah, one thing that has come out of the pandemic that is likely not going to go away at any point soon, or maybe for as long as these generations stay in the workplace, is that as a result of this, everybody has choice about where they work and who they work for, and to some degree, what kind of work that they do. And it was clear in a recent panel discussion I was a part of that, the employee kind of has all the power right now. And I believe that's true. And so I think if I put myself in the position of someone who has an opportunity with an organization, everything about that organization is going to be important to me in defining the impact that I can have through my work or how I do my work or where I do my work. And so if I'm faced with the choice of doing work at home or doing work at a really cool space that removes barriers or obstacles to allow me to do my job more efficiently, more effectively, to do it with other people, in real time, to have quiet space when I need quiet space, to have seamless integrated technology that I don't have to fight. I think if that physical environment checks all those boxes and then also has the ability to create some sort of intangible memory moment type of experiences where it just feels really good to be there, I think that's where space can be really powerful in helping companies keep people engaged and keeping them actively participating in their team's work, and ideally keep them for the long term in that organization.
Finding meaning in work and kind of being drawn to that intangible something that brings us into the office and creates those experiences. I mean, I think we can all relate to, I remember where I was when, fill in the blank
Totally.
happens. So, can you talk a little bit about then how you and your team at SHP are really designing spaces to facilitate that engagement, these dynamic, intangible something sense of places, and giving people a reason to come to work?
Yeah, I'll preface it by saying that, the clients that we really love to work with are the ones who have been able to connect the importance of their workplace with their workforce, in that they understand there's this great symbiotic relationship between who works for them and what their space can mean to them at a very functional level, but also at an emotional level. And I think that when we're doing our best work, it's with one, clients who value that, who appreciate it, who recognize it. And then two, that they challenge us to deliver them something special based upon whatever their design drivers are for that organization. That's going to be a real reflection of who they are and what personality of that organization is, what their culture is, how their people need to come together. I think that's when we're doing our best work. They give us access to their people, whether that's through, simple little tools like surveys or focus groups that were really allowed an opportunity for some deep engagement with their team members, whether it stays at a leadership level or it drills down to the newest, youngest tenured employee in the office. When we're able to talk to all those people, understand how they work, how they envision working, what's important to them about their work, what's important to them about how they come together in that physical place, and then how we can take all of that information and create something really memorable and unique to that organization. I think that's when we're doing our best work.
And what kinds of feedback are you hearing now then from employees in terms of what they want from that work experience?
So I think definitely as a result of the pandemic, and I don't want to always just default to that, but it's still fresh in our minds, obviously. And we still know organizations are struggling with how to bring their people back safely. But we're also working with a lot of folks right now who are planning their offices in the future. And I think that there's a renewed appreciation about what the physical environment can mean to them and to their business. And we know that we have to check the boxes for they're safe and clean, but we're having more and more of those conversations now than we were 2 years ago. And there's renewed interest on things like the quality of the indoor environment, the access to natural daylight and views, I think that's heightened because of this event that we all went through over the last 20 months or so of experiencing what it means to be apart and then how we come back together in the same space and do it safely. But then also, how do we take that space and elevate it to the level that creates something, again, kind of really special that harkens back to that company's identity and personality, and that the people who go to work there every day, you want them to feel a sense of joy, I think, when they walk in the office every day, and that they're happy to be there and that they were happy to change out of their sweatpants and get in their car and fight traffic. And then they show up and the place is really pleasant to be in. It's very comfortable. It's safe. And it also really allows them to do their work in a really meaningful, efficient, effective way.
You also shared at a recent roundtable through the UC Real Estate Center that clients are increasingly requesting Instagrammable spaces, sort of a reflection of our social media natives continuing to enter the workforce. How are you delivering on that request? What does that even mean?
Yeah, that was funny the first time I heard that request. That was probably a year ago, the first time I heard somebody say, like, we want this space, and it's the entry to their building. It's kind of the main public facing space of their building. They said, we want it to be Instagrammable. We want people in town just to like want to come here and have this as the backdrop for a picture. If I read between the lines of what they're asking us to do, it is about creating something that does allow for the creation of a really special moment. And maybe it's the only moment in that office or in that building that is really, really something different that rises to the level of a much different immersive experience that somebody does want to take a picture in front of and share that with the world. One thing I've noticed over the years, if I can go maybe off on a tangent about social media, is like, when I was designing buildings early in my career, we'd design it for a year and then it would be in construction for 2 years. And then we would get it photographed and then it would go up on our website. And that experience took 3 to 4 years to be able to share that finished product of what you were working on. And it usually had to be done through the lens of a professional photographer and for a firm then putting it up to share it. And now that the fact that everybody can share every experience in real time in a moment's notice and your work in progress or completed, the ability just to like celebrate the good that design can mean to a particular group, or the fact that we can share where dozens of other organizations that are maybe in a similar market segment have embraced this notion of what their space can mean, because we can find hundreds of images of their competitors or recently completed projects that we can take inspiration from. It's really made the world smaller and much quicker in that regard. And so I love the idea of us being challenged to create Instagrammable moments. It tells me that, again, they kind of link the value of their space and what it can mean to attract and retain, what it can mean to tell the world about their culture, their organization, or what it can mean just to like have a little bit of fun and create a really special place that people want to come and take a picture in front of and share it with the rest of the world.
Does it create a little bit more pressure? Like everything's got to be looking really good. It's got to be ready for Instagram.
No, I don't think it creates more pressure. I could probably go through my memory bank of all the projects that I've done, and I can probably think back to like what that one representative image is of each building or place that I've been fortunate enough to design in my career. So I think that has always been there, at least for me in my work, that there is at least one thing I can make that correlation already in my head. So I think that this is just another version of that there's still an image or a series of images that are representative of that particular thing. I think that if budgets were no object, and we still deal with a lot of budgets and schedules and other forces that impact the work that we get to do with our clients, if budgets were not an issue, then we could overlay that type of rigor and design prowess across the entire footprint of a particular space. But the reality is we usually have to still be relatively targeted with the work that we're doing so that we can have the best impact where that impact needs to occur. And sometimes it is that initial experience, that potential client or potential new hire, the moment they walk through the door, they go, oh my gosh, I can totally imagine myself working here or spending my time here. The reality is that there are going to be other areas within that facility, most likely, that maybe don't, again, rise to like the same level as that initial experience. It's not that we shy away from making sure that those are still really good quality spaces to be in, but there's usually like one or two opportunities to do something really magical in a very concentrated, focused, high impact, accessible to everybody kind of a way.
Any parting thoughts as we look ahead to 2022?
I'll just sum it up by saying I think that, again, kind of coming through all this, and whether you read a publication or you read a design brief on a project, or I share conversations that I'm having right now with our clients, there is a renewed interest on their people. And I think the impact of the work that we do to help their people in their business do their best work, come together the best. There's still dollars and cents and things that we have to respond to, obviously, but the impact on their people is at an all-time high in my experience. And I don't see that going away at any time in the near future. I think that's going to continue to be the case for the foreseeable future.
Those are good parting words to end on. Jeffrey, thank you.
My pleasure.